Today, BB and I are going to make a Cuban and black bean melt with pickled red onions, and we're going to serve it over rye toast with melted Swiss cheese. So the first thing we're going to do is to make the pickled onions. And I was a little bit skeptical first time I tried these, but they are delicious. I'm not a big raw onion fan, and you can do it with either yellow onions, white onions, or red. Either's fine. I had the white onions or the yellow onions at home, so that's what we're going to do it with. Again, you can use several different types of vinegar also. Today we're going to use a blend of balsamic and white wine vinegar. You can use red wine vinegar, whatever type you want. You probably don't want to use just plain white vinegar unless you're going to add a good bit more sugar than I am today, because these have sort of a higher sugar content. So the first thing Miss B is going to do is she is going to pour in the vinegar.
Ew, that's gross.
It does smell kind of bad. Now, can you pour that in it? That's a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Good girl.
I can't see this out.
I know. Can you stir that now?
Yeah.
With this spoon. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of sugar. And again,
Ew, that's gross.
Don't stir it out.
Ew.
So roughly a tablespoon. This is
Ew.
marinated sugar.
That
You
smells
can
like
use white
beer.
sugar. You go stir that now. And she's just going to stir it until the sugar dissolves. Easy. And then I'm going to add about 1.5 to 2 cups of really thinly sliced onions. I'm going to put a lid on it and put it in the refrigerator. If you're going to be using it the same day, about 1.5 hours, you know, soaking is fine, or you can leave it in the fridge for up to 3 days. And then you drain them off before you use them. I like to put them in a container with a lid so I can shake them once in a while just to make sure that everything's getting covered up and soaking in that vinegar. It kind of takes away the sulfur of the onions. Does it smell good, babe?
No, that's gross.
So now we're just going to dump in the onions.
Ew, that's gross.
She'll like to eat it later.
Gross.
And we're going to snap on the lid. You could do this in a bag, I guess. And then kind of give it a shake. And then we're going to stick it in the refrigerator. Okay, so we have our onions marinating, and now we are going to fix our pork tenderloin. You can use pork chops for this if you want. I like the tenderloin because we're going to do this in the slow cooker, and I have an old one that I got when we got married, so I'm going to be cooking it for about 8 to 10 hours. So this just seems to work out better. So this is about a 2.5 pound pork tenderloin. This will feed my family of 4. It'll feed us, and then I'll take some to work for several days after this. And then we have 2 teaspoons of ground black pepper, 4 teaspoons of cumin, and 4 teaspoons of paprika. So BB is going to mix these up in a little bowl, and then I'm going to rub the pork tenderloin down with it before we put it in the crock pot with our other ingredients. You can pour them in your little bowl.
That smells good.
That one smells really good. That's the paprika.
Oh, smells good.
Okay, good. Cumin, what do you think about it? Does it smell good?
Yeah, it smells like you can cook. Yeah, it smells gooder than that.
Gooder than the paprika? All right. Well, what about that pepper?
This smells gross. I don't like the way it smells.
Okay. Keep it in the bowl. You like helping Mommy?
Yeah. It makes me happy.
Makes me happy too. Okay, that's great. You can stop stirring now. Now I'm going to sprinkle it onto the pork tenderloin. I don't like to touch raw meat. Kind of grosses me out.
Now do you have to wash your hands?
I do. I'm going to wash them really, really good after I mess
Pat
with
it.
this. I'm going to pat it in. Blech.
But don't touch me.
I'm not going to touch you, babe. I promise.
You have to wash my hands.
You didn't touch the pork, so not for what we're doing next. All right, so that's good enough. It's all I can handle with filming and one-handed here. So now I'm going to show you our next steps to prepare the pork loin. All right, so now we are going to prepare to cook the pork tenderloin. We've put our cumin, paprika, pepper rub on it. It's right there ready to go in. And now we are going to add about 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. You could use fresh. I like to keep this in the fridge just because it's quick and easy. We've got 1 large yellow onion chopped up or sliced. A can of black beans that we're not going to use till later, till it's almost ready. Actually, we're going to stir those in for some extra fiber and bulk and just delicious taste. And I'm going to add just a little bit more salt. I've got a drizzle of olive oil. You can use whatever kind of oil you want. And then I've got, I usually put wine in this, but I didn't have any dry white wine. It's a little leftover champagne from New Year's. The alcohol will cook off. If you don't want to use any type of alcohol, you can just use some chicken broth. So we're going to add these in and then put our pork tenderloin on top and cook it for about 8 to 10 hours. So now I'm going to add the stuff to the crock pot, and I forgot that we do have 2 bay leaves that we're going to also add for flavor. So I'm going to dump the rest of champagne, and like I said, you could always use chicken stock, wine, whatever. Onions, minced garlic, 2 bay leaves. I'm going to stir that up and then put our pork tenderloin on top with a little more salt. Okay, so I've got this stirred up. I added a bit more salt. Now I'm going to take my pork tenderloin, stuff it down in there. It is partially frozen, and that's okay. That's a safe way to cook things. You can thaw it out in the fridge under cold water. But I think that's one thing I love about the crock pot is you can put stuff in there when it's still frozen in the middle. And then I'm just going to drizzle some olive oil on top, put it in the crock pot, and close it up for 8 to 10 hours on low heat. Okay, so my pork tenderloin has been cooking for about 8 to 10 hours. Smells delicious. And so what I'm going to do now is take it out, put it in a bowl, and then I'm going to strain out the onions and the bay leaves, and then I'm going to take 2 forks and shred it, and then I'm going to mix in some black beans and a little bit of the juices with it just to moisten it. So here are the black beans that we're going to be stirring into the pork. They are Simply Nature brand from Aldi, Simply Nature Organic. They have lots of fiber and good flavor. Most of the time canned beans need to be drained and rinsed. They have this thick gunk that's on top, and I just rinse that off and then kind of give them a shake and stir them right in. Black beans are nice because they stay nice and firm. They don't get mushy, but I guess you could substitute another bean if you like. You can see that thick liquid that was on the beans. Like I said, I was giving them kind of a quick rinse and a shake. That should do it. Back into the pot they go. So I use my forks to shred the pork up, whoopsie, and you can do it as thick or as thin as you want it. It really just depends on your personal preference. So I'm going to toss this around, and then we're going to layer it on our sandwiches. So I'm ready to layer my sandwich and prepare them. I've got my bread, and I've got a Jewish rye and pumpernickel swirl. If you just want plain rye or pumpernickel, that's fine. You can substitute these out. And I'm going to toast the bread before I start. And then I have some honey mustard. You can use regular yellow mustard. You can use Dijon mustard. The kids like the honey mustard, so I'll probably just use that tonight also. And then I have 2 different kinds of cheese. You can use provolone or you can use Swiss. Either one is fine. It's really just what you prefer. So I have my rye bread on a cast iron skillet here, and I'm going to toast it on each side for about, 2 minutes and take it out, and then I'm going to finish layering the other ingredients on. So I put the bread under the broiler for, like I said, about 1.5 to 2 minutes on each side. Now I'm going to put just a little honey mustard. Spread that around. Not easy to do while filming with one hand. And I've cut the kids in half. It's a little bit much for them to handle, and like I said, Ike may or may not eat the bread. He always says that this looks strange, and then he always gobbles it down. So now we've got our meat mix here. And you eat these open-faced. All the beans are like flop to the bottom there. So I've got it piled high with meat, and then I'm going to place a slice of the Swiss cheese on top. You can do as much as or as little as you want. And then it's going to go back in the oven under the broiler for just, 30, 45 seconds. And then we're going to bring it out and top it with our marinated onions, which have been in the fridge for a day. So I've just pulled these out of the oven. They were just in there for a minute, and that cheese is nice and melted. And then I'm going to top mine with the marinated onions. So here's our final product for the pulled pork sandwich with black beans and marinated onions. If you use the red onions, you may get a nicer variance in color. But I hope that you like it. I hope you try it. And I hope that you follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Enjoy!